Okay, good evening, Eyal.
Good evening.
Nice to see you here on stage.
Oh, it's nice to be here.
Excited?
Very much. My first startup grind. I've been knowing Shachar for I don't want to think how many years. So we're friends in Facebook, and I, keep reading about startup grind. It's
right. Shachar is known for his spamming, right? Where's Shachar? We love you. So when I asked Eyal to come earlier, a little bit earlier, and he called me, say, Ram, I'm here, but he's not here, right, in the room. So he told me, no, I'm upstairs, they're doing yoga upstairs, so I'm kind of relaxing. So I went upstairs, and, right, he didn't do yoga, but...
I smoke a cigarette, it's the same.
Yeah, cigarette, yeah, great. I'm wondering, Eyal, how does your day looks like? Like today, what have you done today?
So recently the days has been really crazy because I've been talking to, on average, I would say 3 or 4 different, companies or teams or entrepreneurs that are pivoting to the blockchain. There's a wave of pivots that is unimaginable. Many people heard about it, many people thinking about how they can kind of adjust their business model to support this new set of tools that the new economy is offering. And most people have a lot of questions. And I spend a lot of time with entrepreneurs because it's very important for me to kind of help them onboard to this domain. Because I think, seriously, I think it's going to bring a better world for my children.
Okay.
So I
we'll
think it's
we'll get
important.
back to that, to the Bancor and stuff afterwards. But just to remind everybody, so Eyal, you were born in Israel, in Ra'anana. You were one of 3 kids, and you were a great student at school, of course. But basically, you started coding at the age of 7. How did that work with school?
So no, it was really a matter of chance because my cousin, his father was like traveling a lot, bringing him some stuff from abroad. He was a captain of a ship, so one time he brought him like a computer. So we started playing with that, and we liked it. And it was a game, age 7. It's just a game. We also went to this, chug, how do you say, like a class, after school class.
Yeah.
And it was just for entertainment. I think, though, by the age of 13 or 14, we started to realize that you can actually make a living from that thing.
But before that, you actually started coding at the age of 7, and you just coded yourself a game, right? You could play together.
Yeah, so one of our first big projects, when I started at age 7, I just coded, stupid things, copying programs from books. There were no internet, so there were like programming books, and you were like, copy the programs, and then you try to change them, do some stuff on yourself. But like the big project we did was a game that was in a competition. I think I was 12, something like that. It was in a competition in Ra'anana, in my home city. And I remember we won the 2nd place in the competition. It was very exciting. But it's really, it was all playing like games until I got recruited to the military, to 8200.
8200. What is that? I'm wondering.
It's Israeli intelligence for those who are not from here. And that was the best school ever. I mean, you cannot pray for, I think that everything I learned was like 10% of what I learned there, because...
How did you reach to 8200? Did you apply there? Or
no, they had this thing, and now it's more official, but at that time they had the thing that they were reaching out, they were searching, using people that were like officers in the unit. They were searching for kids that know how to program before, in high school.
Right.
And somehow they got to me, some friend of my father. My father told him that I program, and they got to me and they interviewed me. And they accepted, and I had no training whatsoever. They just right into a programming job on day one.
Well, but you did told me that when you finished high school, you had like 13 units in programming. Like you almost not finished school,
that's because I'm lazy. I mean, you know, when you start programming so young, so when you go to a high school that has like a major in programming, it's very easy for you because you've been doing it for a long time. And I hated school with passion, and still do. You know? And I thought to myself, if I'll go to school that, you know, there's so much focus on software or programming and computers, then I won't have to work hard. That was the main goal of going to the school.
Passion and lazy. Yeah, a lot of people earn from that. So you joined 8200, and then what was your job there? Because it really helped you afterwards, right?
Yeah, so I think it turned off. Battery. Let's see. When I joined, I started as a programmer, doing like databases and, you know, starting with the DOS, then moving to Windows. And I did that for like, no, it's okay. So I did it for 2 years. And after those 2 years, I became like the commander of the team. So was promoted. And at that time, I was 21 and I was running a network of like 1,000 PCs that connected to each other.
Age of 21, right? That's amazing.
Yeah, I think it really cannot happen anywhere else in the world. And when you're running this network, then everything that breaks, every problem, every challenge, I was like the final stop. So I had to solve everything that came up, and I was very challenging at times, but it teaches you a lot. I mean, so I really cannot thank enough to the Israeli military for the experience that it helped me accumulate.
But why didn't you stay? They offered you to stay to be an officer, commander, right?
Yeah, they paid me like $700 a month, like a salary, or the 800, I think it was. It was really, really poor because I was not an officer. I was just like a soldier. And then a friend met me and told me, "Look, you know," he met me at the unit and told me, "Look, we're starting this startup company. You gotta come. We raised millions of dollars." I was like, "Wow!" I mean, it was like '96, right? So '96, that was like amazing. Yeah. We raised millions of dollars. You got to come. We want to build great things. And I went and I met the CEO, Arad Naveh, who is still my mentor all these years. Okay. He's an amazing person and supported me all the way. And I really liked him. And I joined the startup. And I've been there for like 18 months. And it was sold to Cisco. Yeah.
So you started, you left the army, like the army in Israel, you finished around 21, 22, that depends, and you joined this startup for 18 months, and it's like being in the best place, you know, like it's all about timing, right? So then it was sold to Cisco, and you actually moved from Israel, right, to San Francisco.
Yes, he asked me to move with him, and I obviously agreed.
What did you do in this startup? Is it what you do in the army, or you
it's amazing. It's amazing technology that still didn't happen. It was there is a protocol called RSVP. Anyone heard about RSVP? It's like no one heard about it, but it's still active on some routers. And what this protocol allows you is to reserve bandwidth for a session. So let's say you want to have a video conference, so you kind of reserve bandwidth, and all the routers on the way, they know to give priority to your traffic. So the video so it's an amazing idea, but there was never enough cooperation within, you know, all the internet ISPs in order to make it happen, in order to be able to charge for that.
Yeah. You were sold to Cisco, but you started as a system engineer, like what you did in the army, and then you moved, and you changed roles in this startup. Like it took you from one place to another. Yeah. And just if you could share a bit about what happened there in San Francisco, and mainly about what happened that kind of opened your eyes and, you know, shock you of something you can do differently.
So I started as like kind of a system integrator in the startup. So I was responsible for setting up the environment and making sure everything works because I really knew how to handle.
Today we call it DevOps, and they pay like 3 times more.
I'm sure. And but I had a lot of experience with like enterprise system because I was using a lot of them in the military. So I found myself influencing more and more the product itself and talking more about the product. And then when we started to kind of show it around the world, so the CEO, he offered me to kind of come with him and be the one kind of explaining the technical side of the product. And this was the first time that I was exposed to the business side of technology, because before that I was a technology purist. I didn't know anything about the business side, just knew how to handle those machines. But then I started to meet VCs. I didn't know what a VC is, so he kind of told me, he explained me that it's venture capital. So, I started to get acquainted to this world. I was really, really excited and interested and like it. I like the fact that I was traveling around the world, that someone else paid for my ticket. I mean, I was so young, I got excited by that fact. And after actually we sold the company, I moved, I started to work for Cisco. And I think within a month or two since I got there was like this shockwave event, which is the acquisition of ICQ. That happened in '98. And that was something that kind of the entire industry was like, oh my God, 3 kids sitting at home, building an application, which, by the way, was the kind of application that we were building in the military. I mean, not so different in its nature. So I felt like I can do that, you know, but I need to come up with the right idea. I mean, ICQ was a great idea. A
lot of 800 soldiers saying I can do that, and they're gonna do it.
And
afterwards.
they try.
Yeah,
Some make it.
They raise money.
Yeah.
They try.
So at that point, even though I had a lot of unvested stock, because just a year and a half, I couldn't stay in this corporate environment of Cisco, where they actually change business card in meetings, internal meetings. So you meet other people from Cisco and you change business card because you're likely not to be able to find them ever again unless you have it. And I couldn't be there. I mean, it just wasn't for me, this big enterprise culture and speed. So I quit and I started my own company.
So I can see it's you and your cousin sharing an apartment in San Jose, San Francisco. And speaking about what happened to ICQ and thinking about, wow, we can do that as well, just like a lot of you here in the room. And you just quit your job, right?
Yeah, I quit it. I mean, I quit it after we kind of, we had 2 ideas. And my cousin, his name is Arnon Dinur, he's a known venture capitalist in Israel these days. And he was doing the internship in Cisco. And we just found ourselves by chance, and we were good friends before that, by chance kind of working in the same American companies at the same time, which was like weird. And then he told me that I can stay in his place, and we were just sitting there talking about ICQ acquisition and trying to brainstorm ideas. And we came up with 2 ideas after thinking about so many concepts. We came up with 2 that we liked.
Yeah. Okay.
So. And this is actually a good I think, lesson in how ideas evolve, because he started. So one idea came from him, and one idea came from me. So his idea started with, I want my address book to have the birthday of all my friends. There was no such thing back at that time. And from this small seed, we started to think, so it's not just birthday, you actually can exchange all the information in your address book, all your personal information, all your contact information you can share with other people, so when you change your contact information, it changes in all the other address books. And then we started to think, maybe you can share your status, like what's going on with you. Let's say if you're on a trip, so you want to share that with your friends.
Sounds familiar for someone?
That was 98.
Yeah, sounds familiar. I mean, does this sound familiar? Yeah. Today, like. We're going to get to that as well, yeah.
So,
So you choose this one, right?
we chose this one, but we actually, a good friend of us wanted to leave his job and set up a company, so we gave him the second one. A good friend, his name is Shuki Nir. And the second idea that we had was, again, the seed of the idea was, how can we find the world's funniest joke? So if we can let anyone submit their jokes, and everyone can get the jokes that other one submitted, and then he can rate the jokes that other one gave, so you can always get the funniest jokes to your
friends
application, to our ICQ,
yeah, right.
if you will, every morning. And then we say, you know what, maybe not just jokes, maybe caricatures as well. And you know what, maybe not caricatures, because at that time it was really starting to have like online video. So we thought maybe online video is
right.
So the whole concept of user-generated content, which we didn't call it that way, and but
Social
really excited
content.
and that company was actually started in '99. It's by his friend. It's called Eyal. And we started a company called Contact Networks. We had the domain contact.com. The first name was Net in Touch because that domain was available. But after we raised some money, we bought the domain contact.com.
So you actually established this company, contact.com. You raised pretty much a lot of money, right?
Yeah, like $15 million.
$15 million?
And it was very easy because we went to VCs and we pitched the concept of social network. I mean, think of it, it's an amazing concept to pitch. It's like, oh, you're going to connect to your friends. It's like, and you can share information with your friends. And like VCs loved it. It was a competition.
Who was like the competitor in the market at this time?
You wouldn't know the names, but there was like a company called Planet All.
Okay.
That no one remembers. There was like 6 Degrees that did something similar. There's like very small niches that did similar things, but not exactly.
And then came MySpace was afterwards?
Oh, that was many years after. I mean, both of those companies crashed.
Right.
2000, April 2000, the entire market crashed. You know, when you think about it today, why it crashed, that's a funny story because there was this analyst in Wall Street that said that this whole industry thing, this whole internet thing is fake because Amazon is insolvent and Amazon is going to crash. And that prediction brought the entire market down. NASDAQ went down from 5,000 to 1,500 because Amazon is insolvent. Now, Amazon has since produced the richest person in the world. I mean, if you think about wrong financial prediction, there's a range. That has to be at the the high end of the range of the wrong financial and the implications. So that was crazy time because we were very young and we were looking around us at all the investors and all the VCs that are telling us that there's no more money in the internet and we need to pivot and internet is not going to happen. And we were like, are you guys stupid? I mean, what's wrong with you? But we were kids. We were really young and insecure. And we brought this high management from Excite because, to give a kid that just got released from the military $10 million on a single round, it's almost borderline irresponsible.
It is.
So we felt a lot of weight on our shoulders that we need kind of consultation and we need to advise. It's not always a good idea to take advice from people that are from the older generation of the internet that did not really get the potential of the internet.
One. Yeah, so Contact actually, if I wanted to reflect it to today, Contact was basically kind of what Facebook became later, right?
Yes,
and you have a nice story about that as well.
Actually, not just that. Each one had 2 profiles in Contact. You had your personal profile that you share with your friends, and you had your business profile that you share with your business colleagues.
Okay.
So we tried to do it all, like LinkedIn and Facebook in one thing. And it was not even a website. It was a downloadable application. There were no web apps in '98. There was like no JavaScript technology or HTML5. Everything had to be done on a software you download and install on your computer. So we did it all there. And funny story. We actually were contemplating the concept that anyone here know Black Mirror, the TV show? So we actually were thinking about the concept of people rating other people, just like in this episode in Black Mirror, where people. So I'm happy we didn't do it, but thinking about the implication of those kind of things. And after it shut down, to your question, Arnon, my partner, was invited by the founders of Plaxo.
Right. Yeah.
And Plaxo was like next generation contact networks. It was founded years later. And even the model that they used for virality, which is like you send email to your address book in order to make sure that you have the information correctly, and this is how you onboard new users. This is a model that we developed at Contact. And they took all our materials after the company was shut down, so no one cared. And they used it, and they kind of learned from it when they built Plaxo. And they invited my former co-founder, and they told him about it. They said, we got to thank you guys. It was really helpful for us to build what we built. And Sean Parker was also involved in Plaxo. And later, he was the one bringing Zuckerberg to the Silicon Valley. So I don't know how much it related, but right. I like to imagine that it is.
That you see the Facebook profile methods. So that was Contact, and that was 1998. And so this is the first story about, startup they raised from, they founded with the apartment, raised about $16 million, and it just collapsed when everything collapsed in 2000. That was April 2000?
April 2000, yes.
Yeah.
And we actually lasted like a year after
right.
that. We tried to pivot to mobile internet because that was where all the rage is. Now, it did happen like 10 years later, but
right.
we were pushed by the investors to kind of pivot to some other place where actually people invest money. And that was that at that time.
So that was Contact, and then the second one was also very interesting. The second one was about the social video network, and the company called MetaCafe. And actually, I remember MetaCafe as a user, like, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, or maybe more. Anyone heard about MetaCafe in Israel? Probably a few do. Right. So what happened with MetaCafe? Is it still alive?
It is still alive. I still see the videos I submitted to MetaCafe. They're still up and running, and it works. But the thing is, that MetaCafe was actually a reincarnation of the first of the funniest joke in the world concept. MetaCafe started when people started sending each other videos online. The bandwidth was too expensive to kind of host it on a website, so people were just using email to send videos to each other. And I was getting all those viral email at that time, and I remember the first concept of this, funniest joke, and I thought we need to kind of combine that together. Right. And we built MetaCafe as a platform that use peer-to-peer to kind of transfer the file between the people, but like a server that decides what are the best videos, the most popular one, and we kind of built with that concept, and we started that in 2003. Right,
and that was way before YouTube
yes.
was, anywhere around it. Mm-hmm. Right.
And we started. It was growing nicely. At some point, the bandwidth prices just went down, like crashed. And we thought to ourselves, we'll get many more users if we'll do it on the web. We're just going to stream it. And we started working on that. So we pivoted from like a peer-to-peer application to a website. And
it was really important. It's an important step pivoting from this.
Oh, that was a huge move. I remember the meeting at our VCs, were Benchmark at the time. I remember it clearly as if it was today. I'm trying to talk to everyone. Hey, we need to move to this web. People don't like installing application. They're afraid of viruses. People. So I'm doing all this speech and getting them to agree. to kind of pivot in that way, and we did it. It was hard because we didn't have no personnel, no one knew how to build web apps. We actually, our lead web developer was the QA, so he had some spare time. We told him, learn how to build stuff on like Apache and MySQL and Linux, and he did. And today he's like one of the most senior people on Iron Source. So he's like one of the top engineering managers there. Great guy, Ruby Dagan. So he was the QA, and so we really pivoted our.
You remember
our
the numbers,
nature.
like changing from this to the website? Numbers?
Yeah, sure. So we had like 4,000 users every day. We grew up to have like 4,000 users. So we were like, okay, we're growing. It's nice. When we pivoted to the web, we had all the best videos on the homepage, constantly updating. And then within 6 months, we grew from 4,000 visitors a day to 1 million visitors a day. So that was like an amazing time where you wake up every day and you look at the statistics and just growing. I mean, a person in my field live for those moments, for those events, when you actually see that it's like a child taking life of its own. The product is like bringing new users on its own. I don't need to bring them myself. So we grew really, really fast, became like one of the top 100 websites in the world.
In the world, yeah.
And
At this time
and then
also-
came
and the model was just, you know, like the long tail model, and they just hit you.
So you know what? This is very very interesting, because everyone, when they look about MetaCafe and YouTube, they look at this the same thing. We didn't build the same thing. You know, we came up. I mean, you heard the origins. The origin was find the funniest joke in the world. So we were actually much more like Reddit and Dig, where you know you have a homepage with the best and the most popular pieces of content, and YouTube did something completely different. YouTube did like video hosting site. Like their slogan was Flickr for video. Flickr was very popular with pictures, and they say, let's do Flickr for video. What happened is that apparently videos are much more entertaining than picture. So people don't go online to just browse picture, but videos, oh yeah, they do that. So when they had this, you know, video hosting, and the second thing that they did right that we didn't get is that they built it as a widget, so you can embed it in MySpace. Now, we were here in Israel, we didn't get MySpace. No one was using MySpace. We didn't get what's the point? Why are people even going there? So the whole culture of having your own page and people posting on your page stuff, and you post on your profile all kind of things that we didn't get it, the social dynamic around.
This raises a really important question, which I think is important for all of us, is about, is it important for the founders where they are located, like kind of the culture, where you're aiming for?
For example, if you want to do anything in e-commerce, I don't think it's a good idea to do it from Israel. We don't have Amazon, for crying out loud. I mean, if you go to United States, the kind of options that you have, the experience, the user experience of e-commerce, is like nothing to do with what you experience here in Israel. So don't build a revolutionary e-commerce solution in Israel without knowing like what is the current state of the art. Or at least spend a lot of time there, or at least have your product guy spend a lot of time there. But for us, it was really, you know, very strong disconnection from what was going. And there was amazing opportunity to bring tons of traffic from MySpace through video that we didn't even think about. We didn't even saw that opportunity. And at one point, YouTube got so much traffic from MySpace that you can find the article in TechCrunch. It's still in the archive. MySpace actually blocked the word YouTube from MySpace. And people were like posting, I don't believe it. I write YouTube and then it's gone when I submit. You know, people didn't believe that it's actually, but they actually blocked it because they were helpless. They didn't know what to do. You know, the moving, you know, users were just moving to YouTube in droves because they had this embeddable player, and people were clicking on the embeddable player, discovering YouTube. You will go to YouTube, you'll see related videos. So you let's say there's like a music video of some band that you like, or some soccer clip of the soccer team you like, and you click on that, and you see all the soccer team clips or other music videos, and you think to yourself, oh my God, this is the long tail. This is what we didn't have. Because you would come to MetaCafe, you would see the newest, best, most entertaining, funniest, greatest videos of the last day.
Would you say if you had one of the co-founders would be, let's say, an American, probably would say, guys, Mindspace is big, let's do something with Mindspace?
You know, this brings you to a whole new topic of how teams that are splitted across continent work together. And I don't know, you know, maybe today it works better because all this Skype and stuff, but I know that back then, that was really, really challenging because when you have two different groups, you have two different cultures and two different societies, even in your company. And often they do not agree on basic things.
But your investors are from the US, maybe, you know.
Yeah, I don't need to. I don't work with them every day.
Right.
But you know, the people that you need to decide where you're going, where you're heading, I think it's really important to share the same location, to be in the same place. So
where your customers are.
Or your customers, where your partners, yes.
Okay, so yeah, thank you for this part. If anyone want to ask a question to Eyal about like stuff we spoke until now, please, this is a time, short one. Anyone? Not yet. So think about questions for later on. We're going to have a very short period of yes/no question now, and then we're going to move to like the last part where we ask you about tips for entrepreneurs, and we're going to speak about Bancor. I mean, we have to speak about Bancor, right? So it's very short. Please answer yes/no really fast. So team or single entrepreneur?
Team.
And you are 4 now in Bancor,
yes.
right?
I was never single.
You were never single.
Yeah, I cannot execute on anything on my own. It's a problem.
Business plan, yes or no?
No.
No. Crowdfunding, yes or no?
Yes.
Asking the devil. Co-working space, yes?
I don't know. I've never been.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, exit fast or grow?
Grow.
Okay.
No exit. Exit kills the entrepreneur. It takes the spirit out of the company.
Like the passion. Prototype versus user validation.
User validation.
Well, in your case. China or the US?
China.
But
China.
you're not aiming to China right now,
Huh?
right? You are not aiming to China.
Oh, I am. I spend like 3 times or 4 times more in China than United States before, for Bancor.
Right.
I spend much more time in China.
Okay.
It's much more interesting.
Good. Patent, yes or no?
I would say no, but they force me. I don't like it.
Go to market, go globally or start locally?
In Israel, globally.
In Israel, globally.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're speaking mostly in Israel, but yeah. iOS or Android?
Android. You like that someone else decide what apps you can use?
Yes.
It's not your
Ra'anana or Tel Aviv?
Tel Aviv.
Tel Aviv. And the last one, like always, vanilla or chocolate?
Chocolate.
You're not my type, so.
It's my color,
Okay, let's hear some interesting stuff about Bancor. So what the hell is cryptocurrency and what does Bancor trying to do? And try to speak like, I would say, take it easy with us.
Yes. So, it's funny. I talk about this stuff a lot in the last 6 years. It took me like a year to learn how to talk about Bitcoin with other people. And usually it doesn't take me like a year to learn how to talk about any topic, but that was a difficult topic to kind of learn how to talk about and learn how to communicate, because being able to sit with someone and explain a concept is a form of art, because you need to be aware of the analogies that you can use, where this person is coming from, and be able to kind of address different, I would say, gaps in the understanding in the best way. So it's really, really hard with this. But I think that after 6 years, I'm getting to the point that I can explain it in simple terms. So I'm going to make an attempt right now. And in simple terms, let's start with the people, human, in the philosophical level. They do three things. They think, they talk, they do, they create. Everything around us is a result of that very basic process. And we have very ancient technology that we've been using for a long time to help us with those activities. So if you ask me what are the two most important technology ever invented, the first one would be writing, which enabled us to communicate more efficiently over space and over generation and transfer knowledge. So writing was a big revolution for our advancement. And the other one is currency. Currency allowed us to collaborate, to specialize, to work with each other, to do that, again, intergeneration. And those technology has been used by people before, for thousands and thousands of years. And they have evolved. So writing, for example, it was always easy to be a user, like to read. Yeah, it takes time to learn, but you can do it. And now you're a user of the technology, but how about being the producer of the technology, the creator? And that has changed over the ages. So in the beginning, only kings could publish text because you actually had to handwrite, and the most popular book was the Bible. Then the printing press came and changed that who can produce text. So if you had some money, you can actually publish text to the masses. And that created the Renaissance. That took humanity out of the Middle Ages. That's an important achievement. And now with the internet, it got to the point that anyone can publish text. And what that did to the world, again, changed our culture, changed the course of history. The same go with currency.
Eyal,
Yeah.
1 second. Let me be father. עומר, רדי מהשולחן. עכשיו. תודה. Sorry.
Okay. So currency started in a very similar way. In the beginning, no one was issuing currency because we used commodity like gold and silver and rice and salt. And then kings and queens, they started to issue currency, minting coins, the coinage period. And by the way, the word monitin in Hebrew is like from the monetary. It's from, because this is how they used to publish their portrait on the coins. This is how you would recognize the king, because the portrait was on the coin. And then with the printing press, we moved this power of issuing currency to the banks. And they had monopoly, mostly until this very day, of issuing currency. And you kind of notice a pattern that whoever issued the currency kind of controlled the world, right? And now, for the first time in history, we have the technology that enable anyone with a cost of $1 or so, thanks to those things, anyone can issue currency which is super secure, unstoppable, decentralized, and permissionless, that can be used for whatever purpose he wants to use it. So the ability to issue your own currency, which is again dependent on the fact that everyone is carrying 24/7 a computer connected to the internet in his pocket, is a new thing. It's just like saying, hey, now you can publish video online. What would that do to the entertainment world? Well, I know what it did. It changed everything. So now when you have the technology to issue currency that anyone can use, what would that do to our world? And this is where we stand here today. This is the blockchain revolution.
So basically, like a big company can issue currency of the company, so all the employees can kind of, use this currency within the company itself, or also outside.
So
anyone can do that?
So anyone can do that, but it's funny because, when we thought about it, we thought about this concept in 2011 when I first saw Bitcoin. On May 2011, I was looking at this podcast, and this was guy, he was doing a coast-to-coast tour in the United States just using Bitcoin. And that was like to promote Bitcoin. And there was like some podcast that did an episode about it. And I was like looking at that. I didn't believe my eyes because I was shocked. I saw the first user-generated currency in history, which is traded. It was already traded in many, many countries around the world. The price was $8. Then it went up to $30. And then it crashed to $2.
And $44.
The first bubble, the first Bitcoin bubble.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I saw user-generated currency, and that was not the only one. At that time, there was always already Litecoin and other people building their own currency. And I thought to myself, okay, that's my future. That's what I'm going to do from this day on. And I was looking for the answer of what would be the first killer app use case for user-generated currencies. So started with building my own. We created a company 2012 called AppCoin. My mentor, Arad Naveh, was the lead seed investor in that company. And what we did is community currencies in Israel. We did a lot of experiment. Maybe some of you heard about it, about Hearts by Mamazon Heart Market, and Shefa, and there were like many communities. I think, as far as I know, that was the most used complementary currency in the world.
Wow.
Because we had like a 10,000 moms community doing over 1,000 transactions per day, spending like 30 minutes a day using the wallet and marketplace that we created, where they traded with each other with a currency that we made for them that was not backed by anything. You cannot trade it to shekel. It was like an isolated island. And we saw that it works for a while. After like 6 months, a year, problem has started to arise. And we figured out that the problem were because there was lack of liquidity.
Right.
The inability to kind of transfer the value from that currency to other currencies, like the shekel or dollars or Bitcoin or whatever. And we couldn't really do that, give that liquidity solution because of regulation. It was just impossible. Because if I would be monitored, it's just not scalable. There's like so many regulation around, mixing money and paying money to people. It's just like nightmare. But after, I would say that only in the last year, we started to see the first killer app for user-generated currency. And I couldn't imagine that this would be it. And that killer app is the ability of groups and teams to issue currency that would power technology and essentially use it as an alternative to venture capital. I couldn't imagine that would be the first killer app of again, user-generated currency. But this is just what's happening. Ethereum is the platform for doing that. It's the primary platform. There are many competitors that are coming after Ethereum that want to do it better, faster, better governance, you name it. But looking at this phenomenon, again, it's like the reality surpasses all imagination. I think that what we see is the creation of something that I like to call currency ecosystems. What is a currency ecosystem? Currency ecosystem is not like a company. It's not like a corporation for profit. Currency ecosystem is actually one hierarchy level up. It's a collection of for-profit entities that collaborate through a currency that they use. So Bitcoin was the first currency ecosystem. There are a lot of for-profit companies working in Bitcoin. I mean, Coinbase is a big one. And Alphabay, which is a market, I think they closed down now, but there are like 4 other new ones. But it's a marketplace to buy drugs online. Yeah. And without knowing, those guys are partners. Because people, they go to Coinbase to buy Bitcoin, and then use those Bitcoins to buy drugs. And this ecosystem work for all the players, because when one succeeds, it increases the demand to the currency, and when the demand goes up, the value of the currency goes up, and everyone benefits from that. With Ethereum, it's a currency ecosystem which is not based on doing unpermitted stuff, because the main advantage of Bitcoin, it was like it's a permissionless currency. Yeah. So what you do with that,
you do stuff which is not permitted, which is usually not permitted because people want to do it. Because if people wouldn't want to do it, it would be permitted. But so you can do e-commerce for drugs. You can gamble freely from anywhere in the world. And
you spoke about gambling. Just today I read that Bitcoin, just checked out, is about $4,400. It was a bit more, and it was much less before. A lot of people looks at Bitcoin as a kind of gambling. What to take about that?
The value of Bitcoin.
The value of Bitcoin.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's speculation. It's a speculative tool, which is, by the way, amazing for the industry, because everyone that buying into Bitcoin and Ethereum is funding a new generation of developers and product managers, and it doesn't work like the old world we came from with VC that they get their money from pension funds. This is a new world. It have different rules. So everyone that is increasing the value of Bitcoin, I know so many developers that own Bitcoin that they don't need to work because they have so much money. So now they're thinking, what I'm going to do?
Can they trade that money? Can they trade the Bitcoin for dollars?
It's completely liquid. Yeah, I mean, people find it, it's amazing how many people ask me this question. I mean, the fact that Bitcoin was 4,500, if I remember correctly, does mean that it was that money. People are like, it cannot be really liquid. Yes, it's liquid. You can sell it. You can get the money to your bank account. And because of that, it powers a whole new economy.
Now, how can you explain the phenomenon that happened with Bancor? Well, when was that? A few months ago, you raised a lot of money. That was $150
million.
$150 million in like few hours.
Two and a half.
2.5 hours. Now, I mean, this is something, you couldn't predict that as well, I guess.
No. We thought ourselves, if we're going to get 10 million, it's going to be so cool. And,
So what happened there?
What happened? I just came from a conference in St. Petersburg, and a lot of teams and entrepreneurs ask me, how did you do it? How did you do it? Please tell us. And I was going on stage, I was giving a speech, and I told the people, everyone asked me, how do we do it? And I have an answer for you, and you're not going to like it. We worked really hard for 6 years. We were eating, I don't want to use bad language, but that was a tough 6 years with a lot of ups and serious downs. And finally, user-generated currency happening. So we came ready. We've been in this, you're thinking about it for 6 years. And if you think about something for 6 years, it helps, It helps. So I think we came ready. I think that we were kind of the first wave of application developers, because most of the ICOs before us, most of the ventures were people coming from the blockchain industry. And the blockchain industry are amazing, super smart people that know how to build computer networks that are decentralized and still secure, and manage like a decentralized database. This is also a very good way to understand the blockchain revolution, because the two most important technologies for computer is network and database. This is like every major thing in computers is done. And internet was the first decentralized network. Blockchain is the first decentralized database. So those people, they know how to build decentralized database that are secure and can deal with malicious and can protect themselves from governments that want to take it down. And it's amazing, but it doesn't mean they know how to build application for end users. Those are two very different skills. And we came from that point, I like to call it, where technology meets culture. Our entire team, it's, my partners, they used to build like social games. It sounds different, but it's really much closer to what we do, because you need to provide an experience for an end user that need to select you. It's not even enterprise software that you...
So Bancor in like 10 words is?
So Bancor in 10 words is providing a solution for liquidity. Now, why liquidity is important? Because just like every computer network is very useful on its own. I had like 1,000 computers in my network in the military. We did email and file sharing, a database and applications. It was amazing. But when you connect all the computer networks together to a single network, it becomes 1,000,000 times more useful. We call that the internet. So every currency by itself, as a technology, as a tool, is very useful. We show that in Amazon Hearts with thousands of transactions every day. You can really utilize those technologies. But they become so much more powerful when they are liquid, when you can move value from every currency to any other currency. If your currency is not liquid, it's like having a local network not connected to the internet. I cannot take my credit card and use it all over the world. I can only spend it locally. So liquidity is the internet of money. And what Bancor is doing is providing a solution that enables to issue tokens that are just liquid on their own. They take care of their own liquidity because the old solution was based on exchanges. Right. And market makers and for-profit market makers and all the banking system that we know. I mean, a lot of it is about market maker and buying and selling and making sure that you have liquidity. But thanks to the technology of Ethereum and smart contracts, you can actually create a currency today that is programmable and can hold assets. I mean, this is unthinkable. Think about it. I have our shekels today. Within the shekel, they own $7 million. So what? Shekel can own dollars? Yes, the currency itself owns dollars. And if the currency itself can own dollars, then the currency itself can manage the liquidity to the dollars. It can help people that want to convert dollars to shekel and help people that want to convert shekel to dollars. And the price can fluctuate based on how many people do what, right? So this is in essence the solution that Bancor is providing, which is just, we have a lot of new customers right now, a lot of ICOs, that I tell them, if you implement the Bancor protocol, which is just take some code, put it in your token, and you don't need to worry about liquidity. You have guaranteed liquidity forever for the currency that you issue. So this is
so if anyone in the room want to buy Bancor, he cannot buy Bancor, right? He buys coins that use maybe Bancor protocol.
So this is a very good question, because this is the essence of this entire industry, which is like when you go to a VC, it will ask you, what's your business model? How are you going to provide service to your user and charge them more than it costs you, right? This is in essence every startup, which this is why people like me that like to build useful products, are passionate about building, they don't like it. I mean, whenever this moment when the VC is asking me, so how are you going to make money? I'm like, I don't like this question. Let me build a product that everyone want to use. It's hard enough to build such product, and then you have to. But when you're doing it on ICO,
company, it's a non-profit company, right?
So it is non-profit, but it's very profitable, and I'll explain.
That's the best model, a non-profit profitable.
I'll explain. Ethereum Foundation is a non-profit entity. Vitalik made $300 million for creating it. So how could that be? Because Vitalik kept some of the tokens for himself and for the team and for the investors. So the investors that invested in the ICO of Ethereum 3 years ago, they bought Ether for 30 cents. Now Ether is $350. Pretty good investment, I would say. Yeah. But they invested in a non-profit foundation, and the reason is that they did not invest in the company. It's a currency ecosystem. The only example that we have for currency ecosystem is countries. Countries are a currency system. They're supposed to be non-profit. They're not. They're supposed to be non-profit, and just make sure that all those for-profit businesses are working together and collaborating and providing good service for the users that will have choice where to go. So Ethereum was creating a currency ecosystem that uses the Ether currency and provide this service. And I think when you have a for-profit ecosystem, it's really a problem. When Facebook is trying to build a for-profit ecosystem with Facebook applications and Facebook API, it's a disaster. Like Twitter, when they try to do the same, because the for-profit entity in the middle competes with the participant in the ecosystem, and it's not a fair competition, let me tell you that. So it's not going to work. But when you do it in a for-profit and non-profit entity that set up an ecosystem, and you can only do that when you can issue your own currency, which is, again, permissionless, unstoppable, then you create a whole model that I like to think about it as higher hierarchy than company. So like if I'm a professional individual, I want to scale up, I create a company. Now I'm not just one person for profit, I'm a collection of people for profit. And then I can scale up from that, and I can create a collection of for-profit entities that uses and collaborate using the same currency in a currency ecosystem. So it's a new type of entity.
Wow. Okay, very interesting. Anyone want to ask some questions, Eyal?
Yes, we have one question from the live, from the Facebook Live. Friend asked if who plays better on piano, you or Moshe?
The question was, who plays better?
Piano.
Piano. You or Moshe Chogeg?
I cannot. I was in a class of some musician one time, and he told that someone asked him who's the better drummer, like a world famous drummer. It was in the jazz festival in Eilat, and he said, "There's no one musician better than the other. Each musician brings its own thing. Even if you don't technically play well, you still bring your own feel, your own thing. And even if not many people like it, it's still your own, so it's not better."
But Moshe asked it, so
Moshe. Tell him that he knows the answer.
Yes, from the back.
Eyal, what's the best way to differentiate between a utility coin and a commodity coin that obviously a lot of RCOs are working on? Like a utility coin, I'm assuming, is one that Bancor is doing, but a commodity coin is more for Bitcoin.
So what is the difference between utility coin to a commodity coin? I have to tell you that I don't often use those terms. And again,
But you know the answer?
and so I would tell you how I categorize the different tokens. So there are coins or tokens, the same thing, that are, as I explained, tokens that are powering ecosystem. And the fact that if the ecosystem has to do with the blockchain, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, then the whole idea of the coin is to incentivize people to provide that service. We call them the miners. Basically, the miners are the people that are running the service, because blockchain is essentially an open source service. We didn't have that before. We had open source software. This is an open source service, and everyone is welcome to provide it. So those currencies that have, like, again, powering an ecosystem, whether it's through miners or through some other providers, type of providers, there are a lot of coins that are similar in nature, I think, that are providing cloud services. They are not like Amazon or Google, because Amazon and Google are for-profit companies, where the coins that provide, that power cloud services, they create a situation where there are many providers, and they all compete to provide you the service for the best price. So it's a very different model. So those are currency that provide that power ecosystem. The other type of currencies that we have are currencies that are for the use of for-profit entity. So for example, I'll give you a simple example. Let's say I create a company and I say I only accept my own currency. So if you want to buy my product, it's no problem. I can help you even to take your credit card and then buy my currency, and then I'll take it. But if I commit just to accept my own currency for my own services, it means that as I grow bigger, more people will need the currency. So buying that currency would be a good investment if you believe that I'm going to grow bigger. And the currency represents the economy of the company. It doesn't represent ownership. It doesn't represent profit sharing. It just represents the economy of that particular company, that its users, and it becomes like some kind of a loyalty point. But again, that's a currency which serves a specific for-profit entity rather than an ecosystem that made of many entities. And the third kind, which is very important, is tokenized assets. So there are many currencies like Tether and Digix. And Tether is like tokenizing dollar. So it's like a currency that, you hold it and you can always redeem it for $1. You buy it for $1, you can redeem it for $1. And it's just like Bitcoin, only with some dollars in some bank in Taiwan somewhere. And there's one that's doing it for gold. So buying that currency would be just like buying gold, and you can redeem it for gold. So this is like tokenized assets, is like connecting things from the real world to the blockchain, which is also very important.
There's one for CPU also, you told me.
So the CPU is actually the example that I gave for cloud services. So if you want to buy CPU power, you can do it in Amazon. And again, and Amazon has a fixed price, but there's a company called Golem with a currency
Golem, right.
that you use that currency in order to buy CPU power from anyone in their network that uses the technology that they build. They use the money they raise, they build the technology. Now everyone with a computer can become a provider, and let's see who is providing the best service for the best price. It creates a competition on quality and efficiency rather than competition on marketing, which is what we have today, which is, again, good for them, not good for us.
Thank you. Shorter questions, much shorter answers, please. Yeah.
Question about the ICO itself. A big part of the ICO is the credibility of the ICO. Many people don't really understand what they invest in. A lot of the Bitcoin talk, the Reddit, the Telegraph is about who stands behind it. And you're the first ICO that managed to really get huge credibility. How did you do that?
When we decided to do that, how do we manage to get so much credibility in the ICO? Because most users don't really understand. And by the way, this is so true. You wouldn't believe. I mean, I was in a conference right now. That same conference I told you about. There was one guy in the whole conference that I talked to, and he really understood Bancor. And I said, congratulations, how did you do that? He said, oh, I read the white paper 3 times until I got it. But this very rare phenomenon that people really understand what they invest in. In Bancor, it's even more extreme. So I think what we did for us that worked very well, and again, it's hard work. And in February, we came out and we started travel all over the world. We spent a lot of time again in Europe, in China, in the United States with 3 business founders. And many times we split it. You know, we went to different places and we told the story. We gave the presentation. We got better at it. And I think that the world of crypto, they accepted us extremely well. Because again, we were very articulate when we talked about money and currencies and liquidity and economics in a ways that they didn't hear before from people in the blockchain industry. I've been in, the first conference was Ethereum conference with the developers. They know nothing about monetary system. I mean, we've been researching the history of monetary system for the last 6 years. We've been learning about it. The name Bancor is based on some proposal from Bretton Woods by Keynes. So we came knowledgeable and people liked it. And we got amazing kind of advisory board. And the guy that was one of the co-designers of the euro that actually resigned because he didn't like the design that they chose because he wanted the countries to keep their own currency. But anyway, the co-designer, he's joined our foundation as president and in full-time capacity. So people saw all those people kind of, because sometimes even you don't get the concept, but you see serious people that are not, have some history jumping on board. So you say, there might be something there. So I think that helped us. Plus the team itself that, we know how to talk, we know how to explain. We've been doing it for many years, and we're coming again from the application side. We come with a lot of experience with VCs and those industries. So I think it all played to our advantage when the time has come. And the fact that Ethereum was on all-time high, and everyone were in euphoria. That also helped.
Yep.
You spoke earlier about being really excited about what blockchain can do for your kids and the world, and I share that enthusiasm. What are some of the use cases that you're really excited about or that you hope for the future?
That's a short answer. You like it. The short answer is that we think we live in a free economy. We don't. We don't. We live in a currency monopoly. We don't have choice of currency. And if you don't have a choice of currency, whoever runs your currency control your economy completely and tightly. And only now, it's like when I was a kid, there was one channel on TV. It was channel 1. I didn't have choice. Whatever was on channel, that's what I had to watch. And believe me, very little was for kids. And my kid is today watching YouTube. Now he has choice. He has a lot of choice what he can. And that's the whole difference. When you have a choice which currency you want to accept for your labor, for your effort, which currency you want to hold, you're choosing which community you want to be part of. And when you do that, you make that community stronger. You make that economy stronger by making that choice. I argue that this choice is way more important than what slip you put in the voting booth. That choice has no effect, by the way. No effect. But when you can choose which ecosystem, not just online ecosystem, but real world ecosystem of collaborating individual, when you have that choice, it's a value choice. It's where you express your values. And I think that this is something that would radically change how we organize as human beings for the better.
So it's a tremendous change. I mean, it can change, like you said, it kind of can change countries. I mean,
it can eliminate the need for countries. I mean,
right.
When you have currency
so basically, if you have
freedom.
Facebook, and they're gonna have their own currency. They can be like, this is a new country.
It's a new countries, but it's in a reality where you participate in many countries. I think that's the important thing, because I can use a currency which is the social network that I use, and it's a currency that is like the people that I buy food from, and I strengthen them by using their currency, because this is how I get my groceries, and those choices that I make to be part of those economies, they leave very little for what we call today governments to do, because it really remains with just maintaining a military that will protect you from the boogeyman or whatever, and there's less and less violent, even though it doesn't seem so. If you look historically, yes. the chances of you to be killed by another human being was 60% once, when we were like hunter-gatherer. Now the chances for you to be killed by another human being is like nothing, basically nothing. So the trend is very clear throughout history, and I think that soon enough we will be able to organize ourselves. It sounds crazy and scary, but I think at least theoretically it will be possible.
Thank you. Let's take last one, Shai, please.
You seem to be predicting the end of banks or the end of countries. Wouldn't big, powerful countries like the U.S. have an interest in making all these things illegal and shutting it all down?
Yeah, of course. Just like they made BitTorrent illegal. I mean, would the countries will make? Okay. Countries will make this thing illegal because it hurts their interest. I always said BitTorrent was illegal, but it was 70% of the internet traffic. And what was the reason for that? Because it was not Napster. Napster, you can just come to the office, you can arrest the guys, you can shut it down. But BitTorrent is not a service. It's a protocol, which means it's a language. Those are bits that computers are sending to each other. And blockchain is just the same. Blockchain, Ethereum, Bitcoin, those are just bits that computers are sending to each other. Good luck regulating that. Good luck, it's like I will have a law, no cursing. You cannot curse. Language is a decentralized thing. I cannot force people not to curse. They will, sit secretly at the house and they will curse, and I wouldn't know about it. Especially when everything is encrypted in military-grade encryption. So good luck with that. And those new currencies today, like Dash and Zcash and Monero, which is currencies that no one can even know what's going on except the owner of the currency. So I can send you money, and you can send me, but no one from the other side can see it unless they have our keys. Only we can know, and we can know that the code works because it's tested by engineers, and we can test it ourselves. But it's really hard to stop these kind of things. Really hard. And I think that when you have a law that everyone kind of just don't care about, then all you do is hurt your own reputation, your own authority, your own brand. So there's actually motivation not to put on laws that are not enforceable.
Now, Eyal, if Moshe Hogeg is still watching us on live, today I think it was published that he just founded a new acceleration for cryptocurrencies, and I think you are one of the founders. What happens? I mean, where are you going to take us?
What happened is that since Bancor, a lot of people in Israel was like, $150 million? Oh my God, I need to find out how you do that, and that's good. I'm okay with that. I think that everyone would like to have other people give him money in order for you to, for that person to pursue his passion. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. But it's hard to get other people to give you their money for you to pursue your passion, you know? And when people hear about new ways to do that, they're intrigued. But the reason that I really think it's great is because maybe they come in from, because of greed, if you will. If you take it to the extreme, many will come from greed, but when they actually need to learn about what it is, and what is this blockchain, and what are the companies that work, they generally get excited. So like, oh my God, this is going to change everything. And you don't get it in a second. It's like, you know, the internet, when it started, you remember? No one got it. There was like, the Israeli will know, a Chamishiya Kamarit. There was a sketch on that. Or this whole sketch about the fact that no one gets what the internet, everyone talking about the internet, no one really knows what it is. And the internet is a very simple thing. It's like a computer network, right? It's not a complicated concept. Blockchain currency is much more complicated. People don't get it, mostly. And when they do, they get really, really excited. So I think it's a good thing. And a lot of people are coming to us. Like I meet like 3-4 companies every day. New people that I never met, and I give them a similar speech that I give to you, on a private basis, and people generally get excited and they want to take it to the next step. It might be, I mean, most of them are big companies. Half of them are like startup companies that raised a lot of money and want to pivot to blockchain.
So now you can invite
So now
them.
I can tell them, okay, so here's like a support mechanism that will, because I can give them. I will do like 1 meeting, 2 meetings. I will help them with the currency model. We talked earlier about the business model. Here you have a currency model. You need to have and build and get it right, the currency model, before you do an ICO. And I was like, you know, we never got to it, but the Bancor itself has a currency model. What is the Bancor currency? Why would anyone want to use it? Why is it useful? Why would you want to hold it? Mm-hmm. So this is the kind of thing that I'm helping people with, but taking people from the moment that they want to move to blockchain until the ICO is over and they have the Ether in their account is a long process. There's a lot to learn from experience, and you know, we like to share the experience. We like to help people on board this industry.
So what's the platform? The platform is it's a 3-month acceleration for people want to go to ICO.
Not specifically 3 months. It can happen in 3 months. I saw ICOs happening in 2 months. I saw, you know, we worked almost a year on our own.
Are you investing in these companies? You're going to be investing in these companies as well?
Yes, I mean, not me personally, but the group.
Yeah, the group. Yeah.
They're also investing, but you know, I'll tell you that in one of the recent projects, there were like $15 million that were raised as a pre-sale, even before the ICO was started. And those investors, like almost all of them, never met anyone from the company. But they still, you know, were able to get this amount of money within very short few weeks. So this industry is very hot right now, because they were like, in the beginning of the year, the entire market cap of all the crypto was $20 billion, and now it's 164 something, right? So they're like $144 billion created out of thin air in the valuation of those currencies. And where did I create it to? To the pockets of the craziest people on the planet. And now they have like $144 billion with nothing good to do with it. With the only thing that remotely is good to do with it is to invest in teams that will bring more developers, more QAs, more product managers into this industry, increasing the value of the technology they're invested in. So this is something which is unprecedented. We never saw anything like it. There's actually a shortage of good companies and good entrepreneurs that seems to be closing, because the action that I'm seeing recently is like insane, but there's a real shortage. There's a lot of money to be invested and very few people that are capable and willing to take it.
One tip. Should we invest in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bancor or not?
Oh my God. No, I'm not going to give you those kind of advice, because I'm not going to take the responsibility. It's, again, if I'm going to give you any tip, is get deep, learn a little bit about the industry, choose few investment. The more the merrier, because we don't know. It's all speculation. We don't know where this will be going. I mean, Ethereum is amazing. It has the developer adoption, which is the most important parameters. All the developers goes to Ethereum, just like they went to Windows, right? It's a good indicator, but they also went to Palm Pilot, remember? It had the developer adoption. So it's not a clear indicator, it's just a good indicator. We don't know. We don't know what will happen tomorrow. We don't know what will fail. So I would say spread across different things that looks interesting, that you look at the teams, you look at the people behind it in LinkedIn, you like it, put some money. The nice thing is that you can put small amount of money, that's fine, and kind of learn from it. Because when you invest in something and it drops, or because it's liquid, you know, that's the crazy thing. Startup is liquid from the first second. Then there are very quick cycle that you can measure your own investment and see whether you were right. It's not like a startup you invest today and 7 years from now you know if it's a good or bad investment. You know pretty fast how the world see the investment that you made. So just experiment with it and do it wide.
Right. Okay, so we're going to end with the last question like we do in each of our events. Before I ask a question, I remind you Eyal is staying here so we could still speak with him, you know, afterwards. I know there's a lot of questions in the room, but we're going to take it later, so not now. Last question is, we call it the Peter Pan question, and it's about what do you want to do when you grow up? And in your case, I really mean it.
Yes, I don't want to grow up. You know why I don't want to grow up? Because the one thing I like about kids is that, first of all, they're curious. I think that when you lose your curiosity, you become old. When you're closing yourself from learning new things and opening your mind, not being able to entertain a concept without accepting it, just entertain it, is something that makes you old. You reject it. And oh my God, I see people reject the concept of Bitcoin at the doorstep. So many in the last six years. And also the pursuit after their passion. They want to do what they want to do. In Israel, they call it Bali. You know, we don't like the fact that the kid says, you know, I feel like doing this, I feel like doing that. It's great. You know, people should pursue their passion. They should follow their passion. And when they stop doing that and they start being responsible and they need money and they need a job, this is where they start getting old. So I don't want to get old. I want to stay a kid as much as I can hold on to. You know.
Okay, yeah, thank you very, very much.